Hello
Hi,
there.
hi, Corey. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Hallelujah. Can you hear me okay? Everything good?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, you look and sound wonderful. So it's great to see you.
You too. I love your bazooka portrait in the back.
Oh, thank you. We know that's by Say Adams, who was the creative director of Def Jam Records for like 25 years, a street
Oh, wow.
artist. Yeah, Russell Simmons picked him from that wonderful era of street artists like Keith Haring and all that. And so he became a big deal. So thank you for noticing some of my favorite pieces.
I love that.
Yeah, so you're in LA.
Yes, I am. Los
Okay,
Angeles.
so I'm here in New York, about 10 minutes
Oh,
outside of Manhattan.
can we trade? I would rather live in New York.
No, but she's so closed down right now. Like there's nothing, honey,
Uh-huh.
it's like tumbleweeds, right? It's like she is scary. New York is scary right now. Not what you would think. So after COVID, please come and we'll hang out. But right now,
All right.
she's shut down.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. So, Mr. Kalen Allen from The Ellen Show, thank you so much for joining me today because the Instinct Magazine crowd, we are big fans.
Thank you.
And yes, and I personally am a fan because I used to watch all your wonderful Kalen Reacts videos. And I just love that it's the catalyst for who you are now, which is like, who would have thought that this is such an amazing thing. But before we get into that, the main thing is we're going to talk about is that you are promoting a new Christmas album.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Goodness sake.
So, I mean, is that something that you've always been doing? Are you a singer in general? Or this is a new passion? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, no, it's not a new passion. You know, what's funny is that because, I speak to a lot of schools. And when they asked me about like, what is Hollywood like? I said, when you get to Hollywood, no one asks for your resume. You know, I said, nobody wants to know what you do or what you are capable of doing. So I went to school to Temple University
Mhm.
and I was a theater and film double major. And
Mm.
so I've sung my entire life. Like I've done over 50 musicals in my time.
Wow.
And so I've always loved singing. And I was during the pandemic, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll sing a little bit more. And I've also done songwriting. And so I started doing like Disney songs on my
Mhm.
social platforms.
Right,
And
right.
then in March, at the start of the pandemic, and it's very much how I came up with the idea of doing the food videos because it was by accident. And all of a sudden, I just had a feeling that it was like, oh, you should make a video to this cornbread and put it online. So in March, I just had a feeling that was like, Kaylin, you should do a Christmas album. And
Mhm.
I was just like, okay. And then I was like, let's do it. And so I've been working on it since the pandemic started.
Wow. So just trusting those same instincts that got you here, right? We're
Mhm.
just gonna keep it going with those instincts. Now, this is a Christmas album of covers or any originals in there?
So there is only two covers. And
Okay.
those that would be Noel, All Holy Night, it's a medley, and then there is Santa Baby. Those are the only covers, and the rest of the songs are all original songs.
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow. I'm not
yeah,
sure why we thought it was like a covers album.
oh no 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 no. So we
Okay.
have Christmas List Within You that features MJ Rodriguez from Pose,
Okay.
and then we have Alex Newell on the album as well, who
Amazing.
most people know Alex from Glee.
Mm.
So yes, so I'm very
Look
excited.
at you with the heavy hitters because they both can sing. They both have done
Okay,
wonderful
listen,
music
I
on
had
their
to
shows.
call in. Yes,
Calling those favors.
yes.
That's amazing. And you're writing those originally. So those are you, were they co-writes or you wrote them solely or you have co-writing?
So Christmas Lives Within You, which is the song with MJ, I wrote on my own. And then Santa Slay and For Christmas Sake was actually written by my vocal coach. And she presented them to me and asked me, did I like them? I was like, oh yes, I think this is sick. And then that's
Wow.
how we did it.
That's I'm also a singer songwriter. I work in that field and I'm also a Grammy voter, not touting my own horn, but
Period. We
yeah.
love
So look, so I'll be looking out for you in the future for Grammy nominations. But
it. Okay.
I know that's a very difficult genre to write in because there's so many established classics. That's why it's so hard to do what Mariah Carey did with, with
Yes.
what she did with her big hit song. So I'm just gonna hope among your songs, there's
We
one of
have
those
it. Please.
classic Christmas tracks that come out. Well, wonderful. Congrats. And that comes out November 6th, is it?
November 10th.
November 10th. Okay, so we're going to look for that and make sure that Instinct Magazine readers are aware when that comes out.
Thank
But
you.
moving along from that, though, I had to talk to you about the fact that, again, your trajectory for success, it's so amazing, but it always has these kind of interesting ironies. So one of the next ones that I thought was so funny is you moving into film So you're in the Seth Rogen film.
Mhm.
From what I see in your food videos, you hate pickles.
Yes, I do not like pickles.
I mean, you do not mess with pickles. And the song, I mean, this movie is called An American Pickle. So that's your film debut, right? Basically. And that's like your most least favorite food. So tell me about American Pickle and what role you play in that film.
Yes, so I am in An American Pickle, which stars Seth Rogen,
Mhm.
and it came out a couple of months ago on to HBO Max. And
Okay.
I play a character, Kevin, who is very integral in helping Seth's character start his pickle business in Brooklyn, New York,
Oh,
because
okay.
his character falls into a pickle brine, is brine for 100 years, comes out of it, wakes up in gentrified Brooklyn, and
What?
decides to create a pickle business. So
Oh
I
my
wanted to do
gosh.
that, help him do that. But making the movie was absolutely amazing. And yes, it was so much irony. And actually, if you watch a lot of it, a lot of the comments that I make are actually ad libs because essentially it was Kalen reacts in a movie. That's
Mm,
really how I
yeah.
I summarize.
Well, very often too, I mean, you can establish your own brand in media and you get
Yeah.
called upon to sort of be that thing, I guess. But do you have aspirations beyond that? I mean, I know you went to school for theater,
Yeah.
so do you have aspirations beyond that to maybe be taken seriously as an actual actor that's not sort of playing off of a bit of a character that you established?
Yeah, I think for me is that I'm never a person that gets fearful for trying new things and allowing myself to be more than one thing. I always allow myself to be multifaceted. And I think even if you've watched, like recently, I told everyone that I was revamping all of my content
Hmm.
after everything that had gone on during the pandemic with Black Lives Matter and all that. I very much started to look in the mirror, especially when people started to operate in a space of telling me to just shut up and entertain them.
Mm.
And for me, as a Black gay man, I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am, my identity, or my people and my culture just so that you can laugh and I can get a check. I'm not
Right,
willing to do that.
right.
And so I said, we need to revamp all this. And we need to find a way that we not only educate people, but we also entertain them at the same time. It's like
Mhm.
still giving people what they like to see, but also being like, but also here's these serious things because it's like, I cannot be silenced. And if that is the type of content or that's the type of person that you want me to be, someone that just sits there and makes you laugh, then you don't belong here in the first place.
Right, right. That's a court jester. That's not
Exactly.
who you are. You weren't born to be that. There is this backlash from the public very often about, I can even, someone like Barbara Streisand, for example, who's very political, and you go on Twitter and you see all the shut up and sing. And what's funny about that is music has always, for example, been this place where artists, I
Yes.
mean, the whole 60s music culture was based on rebelling teenagers. So they're
Yes.
revered, but now
Yes.
we're supposed to be quiet because it's an uncomfortable conversation and just make them laugh, right? It's
Art is political,
right.
it is in every single form and every single facet. And people don't get that because they live in a very two-dimensional world. But they don't understand why things are written a certain way or why this joke, people all the time would ask, well, like, because I don't consider myself a comedian. I consider myself to be a comedic entertainer. And
Mhm.
people will say, well, why did you want to tell jokes or how did you become so funny? And my answer is always trauma.
Yeah,
Trauma is what made me funny.
yeah,
It was a coping mechanism. It was how I survived growing up in Kansas in as a gay man, in school. It was like as long as I could make people laugh and keep them entertained, they left me alone.
yes, yes.
You
I know
know?
exactly what you mean. I've had a similar existence, so I totally know what you mean by that. But speaking of Kansas, though, and I'm not sure what area of Kansas you grew up in. But when I think of Kansas, I think of Dorothy and
Uh-huh.
cornfields and tornadoes. I don't think of
Okay.
white folks. So
Well,
I'm
I grew
curious.
up, but okay, Janelle Monáe, right?
Yes.
We grew up in the same county.
Oh, wow. Okay, Kansas. Wait, Kansas
Yeah.
got something. Wait a minute now. I'm gonna have to
See,
check out Kansas.
yes, Janelle Monáe and I grew up in the same exact city.
Wow.
So while she was going to school at Schlegel High School, I was living down the street.
Mm.
And so I lived in Wyandotte County, which is actually primarily all Black.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So we have our little pockets here and there. So yes,
Right.
yes, yes, yes. But it's now we do have tornadoes, but we don't have all the corn and all that.
Right. Okay. I mean, of course, houses spinning around and all that. We just never know.
Mhm.
But that's wonderful because I just had a whole, idea about just this notion of like, we never really hear many Black people being from Kansas, which is sort of a cliche for me that it's probably just me being ignorant by saying something so silly, but I thought I'd put it out there because that's what I do. Now, moving forward though, with you beyond this Christmas album, do you have any plans for an album after this that will be more mainstream? Are you calling in like Beyonce for the next one? Be like, "Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da,"
You know, that a lot of people have asked me about that, and it has crossed my mind. I think if I were to do it, it would not be an album that fits into what music is today.
Mhm.
I think if I were to do it, it would be very 90s R&B, or it would be funk. It would be very nostalgic
Yeah.
because that's the music that I listen to. Like my phone does not leave Mariah Carey or Toni Braxton or Beyonce,
Mhm.
So I think I would want to dive back into those arts form because the luxury that I have is that because I'm not an aspiring recording artist, my livelihood is not dependent on if my music sells.
Yes.
So I'm doing it based off of I'm passionate about,
Yeah, you can go and be
make
more
me feel good.
experimental if you want to without this fear of the label dropping you. Oh my God, what will I do?
Right,
Yeah, that's
right.
wonderful. Well, look, we'll be looking for it because I know anything you do, honey, is just, we are there. Our editor, Adam Dupois, he also met you at a few events. Of course, I met you initially
Yes.
on at the GLAAD Awards 2019.
Yes.
And then I met you again when you were hosting the Oasis event in New York City. That was a
Yes.
few months
Yes.
later. So you were involved in a lot of charities as well in that regard. I mean, I guess that's something dear to your heart. So tell me about any work that you're doing with charitable operations or people who are doing philanthropic works. I know that's something that's dear to your heart too.
Yes. Well, for me, everything that I do is for the purpose of representation and visibility, especially as a Black queer person. Like there is never there weren't enough of us in mainstream media that I could look at and be like, oh, that's who I want to be when I grow up, And I don't think I get tired of the idea of trying to find a seat at the table. And
Mhm.
I think what I am trying to do with the platform that I've been given and the opportunities is that I want to build that table so
Yes.
that it's like, here you go. I've already made the seats for you. Sit here. You do not have to keep knocking on doors trying to get people to see you for who you are beyond who people have told you are. And so even with this Christmas album, like I'm working on partnering with organizations of doing virtual concerts to raise money for, especially LGBTQ plus youth within the holiday season, because the one specific song, When Christmas Lives Within You, I wrote that song, and that's the song that has MJ Rodriguez on it. But when I wrote the song, it was because after I came out publicly, I didn't go home for Christmas that year
Mm.
because I was nervous on how my family would act. And it was very important for me to preserve the feeling of Christmas. So I actually flew to New York and spent Christmas in New York and had some of my friends come to an Airbnb, and we cooked and we had a dinner. But I realized my privilege in that, and the privilege that I was able to afford to do that. And I thought about all the other youth and all the other families that do not have the option to go home for Christmas,
Mm.
So even when you see the video treatments for the album, it is very much centering queer people in the narrative of the holidays because
Yes.
we are often left out of it. And
Yeah.
Christmas belongs to us as well.
Yeah, and that's also that's a very difficult time for the LGBT community. Specifically, I know holidays because of the very reasons that you mentioned. They can't bring their partners home very often, or they're not out. So I know that is a very, very scary thing. Um, so, with that said, however, I just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I think that you are an inspiration to so many young people, but the older generation alike, because I think you're an example of just being your true authentic self and letting the rest fall into place unapologetically. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, you're very welcome. So give me the name of the full name of the Christmas album again. And I know it's November 10th. What's the full name of it?
Yes, it is called For Christmas Sake.
For Christmas Sake. And there will be videos, right?
Yes, there we are.
Okay, because we're going to make sure we have them up on instinctmagazine.com when it's time.
We're going full lemonade, baby.
Don't be smashing the windows at Christmas in a yellow gown. Well, maybe the yellow gown, but no vandalism.
Okay.
Well, Kalen, thank you so much. Okay. You have a wonderful night, and we appreciate your time talking to us tonight.
Thank you. Have a wonderful time. Okay.
Thank you, baby. You too. Cheers.
Cheers.